Person, I had the pleasure of having lunch with David I'm going to say it wrong, Dave, De Silva, and he is going to be our next keynote speaker. So I'd like to invite Dave to come to the stage to tell you about what he's doing and why he's going to be here to talk to you about. Dave.
Well, thank you.
Come on up.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're the next contestant.
The place is right. Lovely.
Do you need this computer moved or anything, Dave? Or?
I'm thinking that we can keep it where it is.
Okay.
It's got it's going on, and I can see what I'm doing here, and there's lots of
Excellent.
space here. This is a fantastic facility.
So you're probably wondering why I'm staying on the stage here with Dave, right? So during lunch, Dave, you told me this really fascinating story that I really would like you to share with your audience about your mother-in-law.
Oh, sure, yes. And this has to do with the speech, which is about cultural bullying management. My mother-in-law, bless her soul, was a spy. So you can imagine having a mother-in-law who's a spy, and you're trying to be a good son-in-law.
Aren't all mother-in-laws good spies?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we had the spy versus spy thing going on for a while. I was in the uncomfortable position, and my mother-in-law, beautiful woman, someone who commands respect, I became her trainer. And in that way, the rest of my family discovered that I train spies for a living.
All secrets were out.
Yes.
Welcome to the conference, Dave.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much. There's some relevance in that story with the birth of this program called Cultural Bullying Management. And I'm being pointed back here. Oh, right, because it's being taped. Very good. So I'll appreciate everybody can just point me back because I am a bit of a wanderer. The bullying is an issue. Bullying is an issue, and we often lack the vocabulary to be able to describe it. And if you can describe it in a positive way, where you can overcome the issue in a moment, then you've got something going on, is what I've seen. And a program that had some interesting background with national security found its way into my children's high school, in that my children are the grandchildren of a master spy, and I taught them the same thing that I taught their grandmother, and they were able to eradicate bullying from their high school. How? Thank you for asking. There's a way of communicating where in the moment where you can choose to feel like the victim, but instead you can be the support person and cure the attacker's ailment, where they in fact half the time feel that they're the victim. And in being the powerful person, and in an unexpected moment, when you give some words that are backed by love, but have strength, the script will flip, and it changes. This is something that I learned to do for myself. Since high school, I was bullied, and I said to myself, fundamentally, if we're able to overcome this, and do so not only with human spirit, with the development of character, but also with technology, then we might have something going on. In fact, if you think about it, if you think about how the win-lose versus the win-win, and choose which might be better, if we can have a win-win, doesn't that produce more? And so I took this theory, which I went to the University of Waterloo as a mathematician, to try and figure out how using software I can put this thing together. I have a startling support story around that. I started it in the Toronto Stock Exchange, and I was there as an anti-terrorist funding and anti-money laundering project. And really I said to myself, oh, if we can stop the bullying going on, wouldn't that be much better for everybody? And if you can cause stockbrokers to change their behavior, maybe, just maybe, we can use those techniques and change the behavior of non-stockbrokers. Assuming that stockbrokers, and some of my best friends are stockbrokers, as a group may not be the nicest people out there by reputation. But what I'm happy to share with you is I was able to programmatically flip the script, and instead of using negativity, the win-lose, they learned how to use the win-win, and they ended up being more loved. They got hooked on it, and they continued along this merry path while making more money. Isn't that something? This is actually the story and the moral behind Monsters, Inc. Do you know that? Anyone, kids? What is the moral of the story?
Laughter is stronger than greed.
Yes, say that again.
Laughter is stronger than fear.
Yes, laughter is stronger than fear. Love is stronger than hate. It's a real story. Well, I managed to figure out how to turn that into software and make it work based on reputation management. When you say things and your group sort of looks at you kind of funny and they stand away from you, you're not going to continue with that behavior. But typically groups will degenerate and the behavior gets worse and worse. What if you could make the group have better behavior? And so there is a way. I won't get into details, at least at this moment, but to let you know there is a way. The thing that has been missing for me to take phase 2 of this project with stockbrokers, over 10,000 of them, where there was $6 trillion in investment assets sitting on the technology that I developed. And I said to myself, I'll be ready to go into phase 3 if I can find an organization who takes care of themselves. If I can use this wonderful technology that I have and some exciting ideas that grew out of CNIB, if I can discover the community of CNIB and elevate them by elevating the stories of what they do for each other, by focusing on them with their character and seeing an excitement and seeing how we can lift spirits. So when you remove sadness, when you replace that with excitement and with hope, things change. My evaluation of you this morning, and having spoken with Yvonne Felix over a couple of months, preparing for this, brings me joy and excitement. Because I feel that as a group, for what you do, I can put a focus on you in order to show what good character is all about, and to attach that to some exciting programs that I've put together. So with that hope, we'll come back to that. I want to talk about some of the words that I heard today. Why is it that I'm excited about CNIB? The Sense Tech gentleman spoke about empathy. And when there's empathy, we change our behavior. There were cases of bullying when I was talking this morning with the people outside and the good people inside. And we agreed that when there's empathy towards what you're doing, but also empathy towards what they're doing, we can see a solution. So that word spoke to me. Also, bridging the gap. I had a painting commissioned by my wife, Jennifer Ferdinand, to create Bridging the Gap. And that photograph, that painting, opened up the $30 million, or helped open up the $30 million Richmond Hill Richmond Hill, not supporting arts, the Richmond Hill Arts Center. It has a fancier name I'm ruining at the moment. So these are some of the assets that are available and some of the excitement coming together in a program which I'm building here. And I came here to learn about you so I can put this together. Also, that gentleman talked about feeling. When there's feelings involved, when we're able to understand how we feel towards each other, what if technology can be put in place to support that, where we'll be able to see the feelings, understand what's happening? And for those I spoke to, and each one of you, I believe, has an elevated sense of empathy and the ability to understand people far better than the average person. That makes you special. You've had to work harder, arguably, than the average person. You've had to think things through a little bit more, and I value that. And I believe that we can put that together in a way to create value for you individually and as a group. And quite frankly, where I have the attention of, for example, MP Majid Jahari, who reports into Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, where I have the interest of mayors, where I have the interest of York Region Economic Development. They're all waiting for this project that I have coming along. And I will attempt to create a link between these projects and what I see here at CNIB, which can be the heart of that. I'm hoping this is making sense. That's lovely. Also, the words that I heard during the Bold Dreams Entrepreneur was, again, feelings. There was feedback. There was a beautiful expression to fall in love with the problem. And I like that even more than the turkey joke. But that really represented I'm willing to try. And quite frankly, the scissors gets boiled, doesn't it? It's high temperature, so all the germs are gone. It's okay. So I thought that was a brilliant statement. You figure that out. And it's really about making things okay. And quite frankly, these accidents that happen to us in life create the most amazing technology that has economic success. For example, sticky notes. Do you know that it was an accident? It was a ruined batch of glue by 3M. And it was only because of a change in perspective that they figured out a multi-billion-dollar business. So what I'm suggesting to you as a theme, those accidents that happen to you, I want you to think that they're not accidents. I want you to think that they're not coincidences. I want you to think that someone is speaking to you. That person can be your inner self. And there's some value there. What looked like a mistake is actually something that has incredible value. And we're going to be having a project to demonstrate this in an over-the-top exciting way, which I might talk about on the stage. But I really want to come back to the feelings part. Again, the Bold Dreams Adventure people also talked about we make a whole. I loved how there was the story about peripheral vision, one member had, and the central vision, the other member had, and together they're able to see the whole thing. Quite frankly, that physical description is what we need as a people. We all have different perspectives. If you can put them together in a productive manner, not only is there money to be made in doing that, there is value to ourselves as the human race. These are some big words that I'm speaking to, and I'll talk about the project which is appropriate to these words. So it's one part inspiration, but I've got some exciting stuff to back it up. There was also the expression that humanizing and helping people is what is important. Yes, it is always about that. It's always about that. What we want, however, is when we take the time to do that, that there is a reward. So wouldn't it be nice if by following our natural propensity to take care of people, to help one another, that there was a reward at the end? I believe these things are true. And I've spent years with projects proving this to be the case. And what I'm looking at with CNIB as the accumulation and the headpiece of a project that has been cooking for about 30 years. Well, I'll talk about that. The other expression, social impact, I think is a nice way of summarizing the statement I just made. And there were another presentation, and this was with Mahideo and your partner, where you talked about locus of control and stigma. Now, I'm fully sighted, and I just want you to know it's an honor to be here and to speak with you. I also want you to know that in my mind, since I was a kid, the CNIB has always represented a positive vision to me through Helen Keller. When I was little, I studied Helen Keller, and I thought, wow, that's really amazing. And as a child, I just thought, as a group, you were all a bunch of Helen Kellers. You know better. So coming here and speaking to you on stage as a keynote is a bit of a dream come true for that 5-year-old who saw you in that light. And I'm here to tell you things about yourself, to be excited, and I have Yvonne, I can't remember your last name, Felix, Yvonne, to continue this project. And I'm looking for all of us here to participate where possible. It's a long-term project that we're talking about, but I always feel that the right people show up. And I'm just discovering who you are and how you fit in, and to make it work through the programs you have in place. Even at our table. Sorry, what's your name again? You've got the games. Larissa. Arissa, yes. So Arissa has a game that she's created which brings families together, sighted and unsighted. And we were talking about suggestions of how that can be shared such that you can make a quicker living from that. And this togetherness, and we talked about the united theme, is the right way to go. So one of my, not benefactors, but one of my supporters is the UN. The UN has the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Have you heard of that? Yeah. It showed up in 2017, and it was 17 goals that they came up with that they said if we could figure these things out, we'll solve all the problems of humanity. Yeah. So what I'm suggesting is your game is part of that. Oh, my pleasure. It's where we feel good about ourselves and we're able to bridge the gap. That's when magic happens. And so just as an entrepreneur, and there is an entrepreneurial program that we talked about, I'm asking myself, does each one of you have an idea? And if that idea can be articulated, written up on your LinkedIn perhaps, promoted as a document on your LinkedIn, we'll call it a white paper, and through the support not the support rather, but through the group of your affiliation with the CNIB, will more wonderful things arise from that. And again, I believe the right people always show up. And it's because I think you think things through more. So where I relate to that is I'm here with confidence and comfort level speaking in front of you. My background really was that shy, uncontrollably shy, awkward, confused kid. That was my lack of ability. And I like what was said before, which was, it was the environment that limited myself. It was a caring environment. So I said to myself, you know, I've overcome those because I was fortunate to be able to think in a positive manner and see, instead of what I didn't have, as having value. And now I'm looking at you as a group, and I'm saying, just like I was able to think things through a little bit more and come up with ideas, I think you have creativity within you, and that can be harvested. I think that it would be my contribution to the connecting the dots. And that's what I'm looking to do, and I invite you to talk to me after this, and we'll continue the conversation. What is cultural bullying management? And by the way, I was thrilled with the response when I shared my topic. I was worried that it would not ring true with anybody. So I'm excited by that. I have a definition, and I will share it. What I was excited about when I mentioned that, those around me began to talk about their stories, how they feel there was a moment of bullying or disrespect, but there's also their definition of what they thought it meant. And if there's anyone who wants to share that, and I hope we get into a conversation, either on the stage or off the stage, I want to know what that is, because I'm championing it. If anyone wants to shout out or share their thoughts, go right ahead. I will start with the definition that I landed on. It's when, in a group, there is a minority that hides amongst themselves for fear of being misunderstood by the administrators. So as a visible minority, that was what I experienced. I would hide amongst my group, but I didn't actually have others who looked like me. So I was a loner, and I always worried I'd be misunderstood as to what I'm trying to do, either out of my own meekness, lack of communication skills, thinking it's a crazy idea. And friends expanded on that and came up with that definition. Now, what's neat about this definition is it enables the lead administrator of whatever group that you belong to have the permission to care and ask the questions. In any group, there's a spectrum. And when those at the top understand the ones who are not and seek to help them, which is their duty, those in charge are always wanting to do that, but they don't have necessarily the permission. They don't feel they have the permission, or they can't relate to the people that they're taking care of. What's nice is the conversation around cultural bullying management overcomes that barrier. And I'm looking to help those of you who are running groups to support yourself, to support your group with these words of kindness. And what's really neat is the solution emerges by itself. So we're talking about the group level there. I do want to go into individual examples of where you see a bullying situation, how you can flip that script. And I gave the theory behind it. Now I want to get into an example. A big part of my message is, what if this lack that is visible as a group under the name CNIB, was not seen as a lack? What if that was seen as a power, as an ability, and was harvested as such? I spoke briefly about that, in that there is a care in this room, caring for your people, how you take care of each other. And I'm not sure if the story that was shared with me from the individuals at the booth beside me are in the room right now. But that struck me. And that represents the higher character, the characteristics of a community. And there's a program called Character Community in York Region. And so what I'm suggesting here is the acts of valor are the ones themselves that are appropriate for these awards. So I'm looking for ways through my external support and assets to bring attention to doing the right thing. Where did cultural bullying management come from? We have the Richmond Hill Regional Councillor and Deputy Mayor Carmen Pirelli to thank for that. I was at a council meeting in Richmond Hill, and Carmen was worried about doing something that would offend. And he said, I didn't want to offend the culture. When he said that, the term cultural bullying management came to mind. I ended up giving a little presentation to council on that. York Regional Police heard about that, and they invited me to come out and give a deputation. York Regional Police, at the end of the deputation, basically took out their checkbook. And the piggy bank that was available was from the proceeds of crime, which is the millions of dollars that are accumulated out of bus. And they were offering that to me, and really that was too much for me to handle. I didn't know what to say. That was a few years ago. I didn't say no, but they're waiting for me to come in. For me, I wanted to represent, and I wanted to do it properly, and I wanted to do it big time. So the plan that I have is for CNIB to be that shining example. And again, I'm looking for those stories of how you felt that there might be bullying, either to yourself or to those around you, and to use the training of how to change things. Just as my kids did in high school, through the system, we have the ability to do that ourselves. I'll give an example, and then I'll talk about the technology, which I'm excited about as a geek, and I'll look in your eyes to see if there's a reaction. If you're not interested, I'll get off the stage. I'll continue it with those who are interested, but if you're excited about it, I'm happy to talk a little bit more. The example of being bullied and how using cultural bullying management changes. If there's a scenario and something is done where you feel offended, so you feel like you're the victim, typically the person doing the offending feels like they've been victimized themselves. They don't know what they're doing, or they're just doing it because they always do it. They're not necessarily trying to do harm to you, they're just in a habit, and they need help to break that cycle. What I've consistently found is, because an opportunity presents itself where you're actually expected to speak, when an offense materializes, is, I'm sure you didn't mean that, it was an accident, but I'd like to understand why that happened. Can you explain maybe why that happened? No one expects that. And the moment a clearing shows up where the offender is taken aback because they're expecting a negative reaction. But when you use that opportunity instead to show love and compassion, something changes. It's magical. And they often don't know what to say. I don't hold them to that. I've got them somewhere, but I don't make them feel bad about it. I just say, perhaps you didn't think it through, or you're having a bad day. Don't worry about that. I forgive you. Let's just try and not harm others as we move forward. It doesn't do any good at all. And in particular, when there's an audience to an individual who may otherwise be prepared to jeer on the negativity, they are taken aback. And there's a change in that community. So this is the formula which I have found to work consistently. And what's odd about it is it works even when I'm at my lowest. It just works. So I'd like to teach that and to hear examples of it working or not working, and come together as a community where you're showing character, can be recognized for that. As a group with CNIB, it can be exalted. Now, where would that be exalted? And I mentioned that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm involved with bigger projects. So let me tell you about a story of a company who's looking to create $1 trillion by 2030. Not a million, not a billion, it's a trillion. And if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll find details about that. They wrote a white paper. And what I did, and this has to do with energy, what I did was I helped others write white papers through York University Lausanne Professional Development Engineering Program in AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, and quantum mechanics. What does quantum mechanics have to do with anything? It actually has to do with everything. The most extraordinary philosophers of our day, here in North America and those found in the East, where I'm from, will talk to you about quantum mechanics as the heart of philosophy. I won't get into detail on that, but I'll come back to my project. Because I stand in the middle of philosophy with quantum mechanics and with science, quantum mechanics, the stuff of Marvel Comics, quite frankly, I was taken seriously for developing their white paper. And what they did was offer me funding to create a $1 billion district-level project around the energy grid. What they really are looking for is a moral compass to do some good. This is the whole greening of the earth. There's a good philosophy behind that. So what I did was I took their paper, Energy Cloud 4.0, and I turned it into a city, Energy Cloud City. And I offered the funding to do this as a public-private partnership into the university and into the municipality, Markham and York region. What I'm looking for is a shiny top to put on that represents character. And I'm looking at each one of you, and as a group, that CNIB should be that group. And everything I've seen up to this point is validating that idea. I hope that wasn't too much. But this is how I see you. I see you representing the best of society. And what I want to do is to give you a podium. As you've given me a podium, I want to give you a podium to stand on. And I look forward to working with you on this and to give you some hope. And I've decided not to tell you about the crazy technology. I'll get off stage. I'm happy for you to ask me privately, but I hope that it's exciting to you. And my goal is to wrap everything that's happening in this conference to be the definition of that. I'll just leave off with what I was planning on starting with. This green folder called says House of Commons, and it says it again in French. So this was given me by the federal government. And it's for the culture bullying management program called Bully Watch, which is a positive way of dealing with negativity. And signed by a member of Parliament for Richmond Hill, Majid Jahari, this certificate of recognition presented to Bully Watch in recognition of your worthy efforts in creating a restorative justice framework that promotes human rights. So we're talking about creating human rights technology by bringing together people, organizations, and cultures to resolve community issues involving bullying. On behalf of the Government of Canada, I commend you for your vision of replacing bullying with positive behavior to make communities stronger as a united force. And so I'm looking to bequeath the power of what this represents and have it show up through CNIB as an act of leadership where you personally find joy, comfort, and a way of creating economic development for yourself. That's the vision, and I hope that leaves you with a warm feeling.
Where can people find you if they want to have further discussions?
Oh, the question is where can you find me? Well, I'm here for the rest of the day, and I love the fact that this best practice where you can zap that with your phone and send an email. By the way, this is an example of you guys doing something that I've never seen before in a conference before. So you've got these best practices that are best in class worldwide for conferences. I want you to be proud of yourself for having this. On my LinkedIn, so it'll say Dave De Silva. I'll look like myself. There'll be some green behind it. That's the best way to find me. My request is to include a note and say, I heard you talk, and I've got a story for you. And what my intention then is to help you write that story. And we're going to write it such that it would be recognized by an engineering school where you're bringing together your personal values, the philosophy side, and what we're looking to do is have that executed through technology, through artificial intelligence. And I'm an AI developer of a number of decades. So that's the offer. Hope I didn't get too geeky on you, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I love that we celebrated my dear departed mother-in-law.
Thank you so much.